Nnamdi Azekiel spent his early 20s as a clerk in a Lagos treasury office, with no money, no connections, and no clear route out of it. A single lecture changed that. Within a decade, he built an academic record across 3 American universities, mentored the man who would lead Ghana to independence before Nigeria ever got there, and returned home already a public figure. This video covers how a treasury clerk with 3 languages and no fixed home became sick before he ever ran for office. 3 languages, no home. Nnamdi Azekiel was born in 1904 in Zungeru, in what's now Niger State, to Igbo parents. His father worked as a clerk in the British colonial administration, a job that moved the family through Onitsha, Lagos, and Calabar over the course of his childhood. By his teenage years, Azekiel spoke Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba fluently, a genuinely rare combination for anyone in colonial Nigeria, let alone someone still in school. It gave him a fluency in the country's major cultures that almost nobody else his age had, and a fixed home in none of them. In 1921, he left secondary school and spent the next few years working as a clerk in the Lagos Treasury, the same kind of job his father held. Getting to Lincoln in 1924, Azekiel heard a lecture by the Gold Coast educator Kwegyir Agri. It was enough to convince him his future wasn't in a treasury office in Lagos. By 1925, he had made his way to the United States for further education, eventually landing at Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. He built an academic record from nothing, in a country where he had no family and no institutional backing, a bachelor's degree in political science in 1930, a master's from Lincoln, a second master's from the University of Pennsylvania, and doctoral coursework at Columbia focused on Liberia. Lincoln kept him on as an instructor, where he created the university's first course in African history. A contemporary named Nkrumah at Lincoln, and later back in the Gold Coast, Azekiel became a formative influence on a younger student, Kwame Nkrumah. Neither of them was anyone yet. Azekiel was a graduate instructor still finishing his own degrees. Nkrumah was a student following the same path Azekiel had already cut. It's easy to miss how ordinary this moment was at the time. What it produced was a direct line between 2 of the men who would go on to lead their countries out of British colonial rule, with one shaping the other years before either held any real power. In 1934, Azekiel took the editorship of the African Morning Post in Accra. He used the position to attack the colonial order directly, and just as sharply to criticize the African elite he saw as propping it up for their own benefit. The paper became the loudest anti-colonial voice in the Gold Coast, and Azekiel became a marked man in the eyes of the colonial administration. The trial in May 1936, the Post published an article by Ita Wallace Johnson titled, "Has the African a God?" A direct attack on colonial Christianity. As editor, Azekiel was charged with sedition. He was convicted and sentenced to 6 months in prison. The conviction was overturned on appeal, and by 1937 Azekiel was back in Lagos. He didn't return as a defeated man. He returned as someone whose reputation had already been made, years before he founded a single one of the newspapers that would carry his name across Nigeria.